Hi everyone. All right, so it's been a long time since the last
It's been a while.
Strongfit podcast. I don't even know what episode we're on, but this is one of the last pure Strongfit episodes that I do. Because we're gonna switch toward, like the set of gyms we're opening with Mike and Victor. So the Improve, right? If you go on improve.inc, you'll notice the website is up. We are still twiddling with stuff. So next week I'm gonna bring Mike up on the podcast, and then we're gonna do a podcast with him. We're gonna invite parents, coaches. We're gonna talk a lot about anxiety, a lot about autism. Obviously, there still be some movement and everything, but this is pretty much toward the end of StrongFit just as a movement thing. I mean, it was never just a movement thing, but
It was never, but it's definitely evolving into more towards autism and anxiety side.
So we're gonna push toward that more, and that's what I want to talk about today, because I got a few emails about people pretty much pissed off that I'm not pushing the movement stuff, especially for free.
Yeah. Well, I mean.
That I think is really why they're pissed off.
Yeah.
And so I want to talk, and then in a way I get it. A promise was made and they expect it. We're gonna disagree on but that's what we're gonna talk about. Like we're gonna talk about what promise was made.
Yes, because I don't fully agree with.
No,
that
okay.
it was
So
a
we're gonna talk about it. So
a non-obligation. Let's put it like this.
we're gonna go at the Pareto distribution to go there. So this is gonna be about business. I'm gonna talk about business because I'm in this world right now, and I'm very much into the finance world, because we're trying to open 100 gyms within the next few years, and eventually maybe 1,000. Who knows? But at least 100. And so I'm very much into the business world, and I've seen certain patterns I find very interesting, and I want to talk about it.
It's definitely a different thing than opening one, like what you had with Strongfit was like basically one small company that you run from this. Like setting up the gyms and having locations and scaling that is like a whole different ballgame, right? Like
so you got different businesses. You got opening one gym, then you got opening 5 gyms.
Yeah.
The hard part is going from 1 to 2.
Yeah.
That's actually where the hardest thing is. Going from 2 to 5 is a certain business and a specific skill. Going from 5 to 20 is a completely different skill, and 20 to 1,000 is another skill altogether. And every single time you're gonna have to find a new skill, new people, and a new way of dealing with finances, and suddenly the larger scale people come into play, and and every single time it's a different skill. It's also a different culture.
Yeah.
It's a different world, different cultures, different money. So you play with different players, and they have a different set of rules. And they act a certain way, and they have a different culture. So when you go from 1 to 2 to 5 to 20 to 1,000, you will find a different culture at each step, and you will have to develop a different set of skill and a different side of yourself. You either will or you will not, but that is what is required.
I think it's cool to point out, because it's really that aspect, bringing it together with the movement you already did, but having the community that has to be so present.
We'll talk about all this later. Today, we're going to talk from a business perspective, because not that I got pissed at the emails that I got, but I'm like, I need to explain a few things very clearly. So we're going to go the Pareto distribution, 60, 20, 20. Most people are in the center, 60%, it's the bell curve, right? 20% on one side, 20% on the other. Most people in the center are around the 60%. Obviously, there's gradients. It's a bell, but you get the idea. It's a Pareto distribution. If you know me, I made plenty of podcasts on the subject. So first 20%, those are my people. Those are the people I believe in what I did. And you know who you are. I love you all. I love you. You are my people. This podcast is not about you. You know why I'm doing what I'm doing, and you're on my side, and this is not your podcast. We know, right? You know who you are. I know who you are. We have this going on. This podcast is not for you, so don't worry about it. Now we're going to talk about the other 80%. So first we're going to talk about the other side, the other 20%. The people that took my stuff, full-blown stole it, all the way up to the ITET chart, and pass it as its own, for example. So I'm giving the most outlandish example, but I had plenty of people full-blown taking my stuff, stealing it, and not giving credit. where credit is due, which is what surprised me the most, because that's just that's weird to me. Why not give credit anyway?
No,
But
to me,
what do you think you're gonna do with that? You're making money like real fast.
Oh, but that's the thing is they get in once, but they don't have the knowledge to back up because like if they just steal the stuff, like you can steal and you can earn a few thousand with that, but like you never have the knowledge to back it up.
No,
Plus, like they get an ego with it. I think
Yeah.
ego is the thing that doesn't want to make them give any credit. That's
No,
the stuff that pisses me
but
off.
the thing is like this is short-lived, right? So it's a bit like
Totally.
the girls on OnlyFans.
Oh yeah, it is. It is 100%.
You know, like by the way, karma is a bitch.
Oh,
So first of all, but it won't come from me because I do not care. Like I want to talk about the 60%. Those 20% that decided to steal my stuff, not give credit, and
Yeah.
pass it at his own, have at it. But and I'm making the comparison to OnlyFans because I think it's very valid from a business perspective. So you have, for example, you have all those girls that go on OnlyFans, and I have two questions for them. First is, how long do you think you can do this for? Right? And more importantly, what happens when you stop? My point is, let's say you're successful, and by the way, most women are not successful on OnlyFans. They make like $200 a month to do sex work, basically, or at least put their body naked on the internet forever. Anyway, the key with that is that you need to have already an Instagram following and everything. Okay, it's sex work. You're turning someone into a porn star. Fine. Let's say you make thousands of dollars a day and everything. I'm like, that's cool. But once this stops, and it will, because this is based on beauty and youth, let's be honest, are you going to go back to a desk job, making $50, even $100 an hour? Like, how are you going to go back to a normal job that makes $200 a day, which is not bad, by the way? Imagine a job that makes $300 a day. Not bad, right?
No, it's a good job.
It's a good job, right? Most people don't make that. Yeah, it's a very good job. Most people don't make that.
Yeah.
This, you made more than that in an hour. Like, how are you going to go back to a normal job after that? Because let's be honest, those 10 years or whatever you spent posing naked for OnlyFans and everything, I seriously doubt you learn a skill outside of posing in front of a camera. Let's be honest. I don't think you used that money to pay for med school.
Right.
Maybe 3 girls did it. Most of the girls out there, that's not what they're doing. Right? So.
And even if they did, like the idea that you can do that for a while, stop and forget about it, and not think there's any consequences to it.
Right.
Like,
Or
not
anybody
even
for
to
it.
say mentally for yourself, like even if you're 100% okay with it,
Not too bad.
it's going to be on
No
the
one
internet
is.
forever. You don't even know what consequences it has, and if you ever want to start a family, like, I'm sorry, but
The
like,
shit is out there. Yeah. Anyway, so my point is there's a number of issues that comes with those
Yeah.
decisions. That might sound really good right now because you're making so much money, but down the line they're gonna pay the price. To me, stealing knowledge, not giving credit, not studying the craft. The biggest problem with stealing the way they do is that you're not studying the craft, which means sooner or later you're gonna be called down on it. And who are you gonna blame for it? Me? So like
No,
you're
it's not
stuck,
the
right? Like the thing is a lot of the stuff, and we're going to talk about some more when it comes to the contract that I signed with you. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of knowledge, it's a lot of stuff you have to back up. Like that shit and simple. Let me put it this way. And so there are long-term consequences. But anyway, this podcast, the 20%, if you went out there, stole my stuff, didn't give me credit, and thought you could, this is just business for you, basically. This is just a way to make money. All right, you're an OnlyFans girl. Have at it. Karma is a bitch. That's your problem. Now let's talk about the 60%, like which is most people. And understand where I come from. I'm going to move toward opening that set of gyms with Mike and everything. We're doing fine. My contract up till now was that I would provide a lot of information. I would do the research, lactate, internal talk, all that stuff. I would create all that stuff and give it to you guys, pretty much for free. I charge for some of it, right? But a lot of it I gave for free. I think you would all agree. Mm-hmm. And my contract was, in a way, to me, was like, I am trying to give as much as I can to you guys out there, being a humanist. And in a way, in exchange, you support me. Maybe you buy a sandbag, you buy a t-shirt, and a lot of people did that. But a lot of people, like those are the emails I got, were like, well, how come you're not doing this anymore? How come you're not giving us stuff for free? How come? And I'm going to tell you why, how come. Because I came to a point where I do not feel that this, I don't know if it was a good idea, but it certainly is not a good idea anymore. Because the fact is, the more I give, the less people pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
You all have been trained incorrectly. And I'm going to explain what I mean. To explain that, I'm going to use Disney as an example, and then we're going to get into CrossFit. We can get into the whole men, women stuff, because to me, at the end, it's all the same. Disney, to me, it went this way. It went the Me Too that got completely out of control into creating a gender war. The lockdown is what follows, and Disney coming down now. It's pretty much the same
thing.
Area. It's the same thing. At least the principles apply to them. Why am I using Disney as an example? Because you might remember that about 2 years ago, year and a half, I made a podcast about the show Obi-Wan, Disney, Marvel, and all that stuff. And I was really pissed at the Obi-Wan show because the writing was on the wall as to how shitty, bad, and destructive that show was. And I got a bunch of response, YouTube or messages or whatever, pretty much. I think about, again, 20% were on my side, and the other lady was like, how dare you say anything, we need representation, Disney is trying to do the right thing and everything. And my point at the time was, when you hire based on representation and not based on quality, you will always end up ruining everything. Yeah. And my biggest issue with the comments that I saw is what I saw is people that were trying to score more points to be like morally superior to me by saying we should have all those things, but inside did not care whether or not Disney would fail or not. That's what I saw. And you know what upsets me, because I care about Disney. You see how bad they are now?
Yeah.
The last 5 movies have lost more than $300 million each. Like, Marvel is a joke, and the Marvels prove this, made like $45 million opening weekend, or not even first day was Thursday, it was so bad. So opening weekend, which is an absurd number, right? Pixar is down. Indiana Jones, so Lucasfilm, forget about it. Star Wars, we don't. Did you see Ashoka? Well, he did. Yeah. Like all the stuff that I talked about in the podcast, look where we are now, right? So, and that was my point at the time, is if we keep going like this. Sorry, my cat, of course, jumped on everything. I hope the sound didn't mess up, but my cat decided to be right in the center. Anyway, my point at the time with the Disney stuff is if we keep going like that, we're going to wreck all that stuff. And I think most of the people are saying, yeah, but we need representation, at the end do not care about those movies, not as much as I do. Mm-hmm. That's for sure. And you know what kills me is our kid that will come next year or the year after that will not grow up watching those movies with me. Like, she doesn't care because she doesn't watch any movies, but I grew up with my daughter, her sitting on my lap watching all the Pixar movie, I don't know how many times, most of the Disney movie, I don't know how many times. What kills me is that I will not be able to see those Disney movies as my kid, not the new ones anyway. I'll watch the old ones, but that's about it, because look at what Disney is doing. Like, it's you've never seen a company that big, that important, tanking that bad. They don't have good animators anymore at Disney. They just came out with a movie named Wish that is 100 years of Disney, and the animation sucks. Yeah. I don't know what else to tell you, because all the good animators left. You know why? Because every time you hire a person based on their skin color, their gender, or their sexual orientation, and they're mediocre at their job, you also get rid of a good person who feels disrespected, doesn't want to work with that person, and just leave. Because people that value, craftsmen that value what they do, they're not going to be hired next to someone based on representation. Because, and you know what? They shouldn't. They shouldn't. But anyway, this is the reality of Disney right now. They're going down the drain, right? And that's why I made that podcast 1.5 years ago, but because that's exactly what I was afraid of.
And
I mean, I knew it was coming. Not even afraid of. I knew it was coming.
Yeah, but you were just waiting on it, and it was.
But it's a train wreck, and the problem is I like the people that were in that train.
But.
And so anyway.
And I don't need to interrupt you. And the thing is that about that 60% and the way they are using the Strongfit principle sometimes to be more or less superior is the stuff that I really saw, because I was not there from the beginning.
No, you're talking about the 20%, not
Sorry,
the 60,
the 20,
because the 60
yes.
they don't care.
They don't really care.
What you're referring to is the 20%. The 60% I'm referring to is people are just like they watch Strongfit and they go, oh cool, and then everything is a Chinese menu, right? They can pick a little bit of Strongfit here, little bit of CrossFit there, little bit of Olympic weightlifting here. They're just gonna mimic the movement, right? They're gonna make it look good, but they don't really care. The movement is good because honestly, they don't care that much about it, which is the point of the Pareto distribution. Is the 60% never care. The problem with that is you destroy everything. And so Disney being the proof, right? When John Lasseter got fired from Pixar, I got upset because I was like, are you guys crazy? If you fire that guy, Pixar goes down. I love Pixar movie. WALL-E is still my favorite movie, one of my favorite movies of all time. And I was like, oh, you guys are crazy. That is a shame. I'm a craftsman. To see Pixar go down in flame hurts my soul as a human being. Maybe, and obviously it doesn't hurt your soul, but it hurts mine. And so that's why I was bitching about it, because I thought it was crazy. And that is the tyranny of the majority, in a sense. It's the 60% that doesn't care, they just go with it. So what's going to happen, and I saw that with me with Strongfit, where people are just, they ask, oh, can you have structure? You don't want structure. You want a template because you want me to tell you what to do so that you can take that. When it fails, kind of blame me. Or, take a little bit of this, but put a little bit of that. And I did not, so that's okay, because I didn't do things for those 80%. I did things for the 20% that were my people, right? But I'm talking to the 60% right now is, if we keep going like this, look what's going to happen. So I'm moving toward that. I'm going to use the example of my friend CJ from Invictus, right? CrossFit Invictus, who built the most successful CrossFit gym out there. He's been 15 years in a row at the games. They won the team last year. Amazing dude and everything. The guy was a big shot lawyer in San Diego. I don't know if you knew that, but he was on his way to become a partner at a big law firm and quit all that to be a CrossFit coach. Yeah, so his parents were not necessarily happy about the subject, by the way, but that's what he did. I did a podcast with him. You can go back and watch it. Do you think that CrossFit today would attract a CJ? 100% no. I think we can all agree. There is no way a guy like that today would go into opening CrossFit gym. What does that tell you? Yes, he was early and everything, but now that we got rid of Glassman and the 60% was more than happy to let that happen, 20% claimer for his head, 20% wanted to keep him, and the 60% were like, yeah, whatever. He's a bad guy. Not really caring, because CrossFit is going to move forward. CrossFit is going to move forward. Let's talk about that for a second. So, how CrossFit is moving forward? What's his name? Hiller. The guy Hiller keeps talking about that because he was talking about the head for the affiliates who comes from Yoga Works and the bar method. You guys might not be too familiar with those two because they only had 100 locations, but they were LA based when I was there. So I know exactly what the bar method is, because I was there when it just blew up, and I was there when Yoga Works blew up and everything, especially in LA was the biggest thing. And let me tell you, that guy is not a CrossFitter. He might say he's now, but he's not. He's a typical financial guy, corporate, coming into a system, scaling it, killing the quality, but bringing more revenue in, not necessarily profit, but more revenue in. That's what he did with yoga. Real yoga people, even yoga teachers that I met, were hating on Yoga Works because he was shit. It was a factory. It turned into a churning of yoga teachers because they needed more, because they had more classes and the less money. So basically, it was a Starbucks of yoga. The bar method, he took classical dancing and made a training system out of it. What he was churning classical dancing as a training system for women. Yeah, and by the way, the number of injuries was through the roof because those women were not ready. What they did is they took the pictures of classical dancer, and women at that stage were losing their mind over those women that had muscle but were not muscular, so still very feminine. Basically, classical dancer, they were all like 5'8" or whatever. Mm-hmm. So anyway, but they said, I want to look like that. Yes. Well, change your genetics. Anyway, so that's what he did. Basically, he based it on that. And so what he did is he scaled classical dancing as a training system for everybody. All right. Do you think he's going to try to do that with CrossFit? Where do you think CrossFit?
Wrong, by the way?
Where do you think CrossFit is right now? Where they hire someone like that? I can tell you where they are because I know exactly what they're doing. They are preparing to scale. I know because I know the types of people they're talking to, what they're doing, because those are the people I talk to, and trust me, I'm not falling into that trap. But this is the typical corporate mindset, culture of scaling things. The first thing they do is they take the product. All those people are incapable of creating something. That's why that guy used yoga and classical dancing, because they can't create anything. All they can do is scale. So they take something, make it big, kill the quality in the meantime, but manage to sell more of it. But that's what they do. That's what they're trying to do with CrossFit. So, I always talk about CrossFit and MMA. Now, you know that the UFC created what is called a UFC gym, which means they franchised a gym that was a global gym with some MMA, with some jiu-jitsu, with some stuff and everything. Are they doing that well? Not really, but they had one consequence in all this. Most fighters, like the old school fighters from the UFC and all the jiu-jitsu and everything, their retirement plan was opening their own gym, their own jiu-jitsu school, their own MMA school, or whatever. The UFC gym wiped out all of those businesses. Took those guys basically for them to work into the UFC gym. So now you have legends of the sport that are coaching one class in the morning, one class at night for $65 each. And that's how they make their living. Because their retirement plan, yes, they were not good business people. I agree. But their retirement plan was opening their own gym. And the UFC gym took care of that. Now, let's say CrossFit wants to go the corporate route, right? You know the two things that would happen? CrossFit would become a sports league on one side, right? So promoting a lot of more open workouts and more quarterfinals and more semifinals and more divisions, weight classes, who knows, age division, all that stuff. So basically it would become a sports league, right? And on this side, they would push the franchise model of the UFC gym. Now, one question about that. Do you think if they open something like the UFC gym, imagine a huge space, some global gym on the side, little bit of strongman. Let's say they get in with Rogue. So they put some strongmen here, some Olympic weightlifting there, some global gym here, some CrossFit there. Then they go to mid-level competitors who can't make money and say, I'm going to pay you to come coach 2 in the morning, but you can train as much as you want. And we're all going to be in the same place, so you have access to all those great coaches. I'm going to give you a 401k and medical and everything. None of the stuff you can get at your local gym as you coach and everything. How many of them are going to say yes, you think? So who do you think loses in that? All the small gyms. More importantly, all the small gyms that create the small competition that keep the community intact.
Oh, and also talk with the people directly, see how they're doing, having the...
So now, let me ask you 60%. If they open that gym, be truthful, how many of you will go there instead? Most. Because you don't care. The fact is you don't care. But let me ask you this. What do you think happens 2 years down the road? Glassman, as imperfect as the man was, and I know even more shit than you do about this, and no, he wasn't a good guy, but he changed the fitness world for the better, that's for sure. And it changed the way we train women forever.
Yep. There's just no going around it.
He did more for women in fitness than any man out there, even though he was a pervert, go figure. But in the meantime, 15 years later, the stuff is about to go corporate. And how long do you think CrossFit will survive in those conditions?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're already drifting to a CrossFit. It's not really CrossFit anymore. Like it's mostly 40 minutes.
Once you remove the craftman out of it,
Yeah.
once you have a
people that
UFC
care.
gym format, this is gonna happen. Corporate is gonna get in. They're gonna send surveys because they do that. Which workout do you want to see? You know what we're gonna see? 40-minute workouts, AMRAP, where everybody's pacing the intensity, basically the opposite of what CrossFit was supposed to be. Once we have that, how long before we lose CrossFit as what it is? How long before women start to regress and just look at their stomach in the mirror and everything? Because CrossFit, for all the problems with glass men, made women proud to carry muscle, make them
100%.
jacked, lean, gorgeous, more beautiful at fitness model, capable, competent, capable of going into competition. Right. This is going to go away, so we can go back to a corporate format, UFC gym, and kill all the craftsmen out there, all the coaches you profess you like. I don't see anybody getting pissed at that. Outside of bitching in the comments on Andrew Hiller stuff,
Yeah.
ladies, where are you? This is for you. Men will be fine. We have global gym, we have strongman, we have powerlifting. We'll be exactly the same. Actually, global gym, if we could separate men and women, even better.
Oh yeah. Otherwise,
Like,
you're gonna get caught on camera and put on
no,
TikTok.
please, like, can we separate men and women? Can we segregate gyms? I say we should make gyms
Please
just for
don't do
women.
that. Please
No, please,
don't.
please do. Anyway,
You don't want to train with me. That's why.
I don't want to train with any women in the gym. Can I just have my? This is why we have a private gym, because I can be whoever I want to be without being on TikTok
Yeah.
within 3 seconds.
Being,
Anyway,
like, filmed every 3
no.
seconds.
Plus, I don't want people to
Plus
film me in the
waiting
gym.
like 10 hours
10 minutes. Oh my
for
God.
a fucking
Yeah.
machine. Like,
Anyway.
Anyway,
That's a whole different podcast. My point is, imagine if CrossFit were going to have like a UFC gym type of idea, it would wipe out 80% of the gyms out there.
100%.
So sports league, franchise. Now, this is moving forward. Remember, I said Disney is going to do this, Disney is going to do that. Year and a half later, this is where we end up. I have a very good feeling, bad feeling, that this is where CrossFit is going. It will destroy the thing. Ladies, you're going to be the biggest victim. I don't see any of you freaking out about that. So my point is, the 60%, that tyranny is dangerous because not caring leads to this. Not caring when they fire John Lasseter leads to Pixar being dead. Like, you want to see the next Wall-E? I do. Anyway, this is the problem. So, in a way, I faced the same crisis with Strongfit, where the 60% was like, oh yeah, just give us stuff and then we'll get distracted by it, like you do the lactate. Oh, that's cool, oh, that's cool, that's cool. But no one was really putting the work behind it to learn the stuff. Yeah. All right, so at some point, what you get is the John Lasseter leaving. So in corporate America, for example, let's go back to Disney, the good animators left. You know why? Because they didn't want to work with mediocre people, because they didn't feel valued. And this is what you get. My contract with all of you was, I do the research, try to help everybody, and there's some form of support, not just financial, but just overall.
Getting interaction, getting a message.
Right. So again, I do my work for the 20%. So you don't give a shit, CrossFit is part of the Strongfit menu, I get it. But this is why I'm moving toward having the gyms and everything. So when I get emails from the 60% telling me, how come you don't give us free stuff anymore? My answer is because you didn't earn it. I gave you the stuff, a lot of it for free. What I don't see is you earning that back. So I'm leaving. There you go. So I will always be there for my 20%. Reach out. I'm going to have a mentoring program going. I'll talk about this next week and everything. And this is where I will do all my stuff. Strongfit will still live, but on the mentoring program. I will not keep pushing the stuff outside of that, because the fitness world right now is turning to shit, and honestly, I don't want to be part of it. Yeah. And I hope CrossFit is not going to go that route, but honestly, I think that's what's going to happen. It's going to be a sports league and some type of franchise type model, and I think they're finally going to put up some type of. I wouldn't be surprised if the UFC gym. I'm sure they're looking at it. Because they're looking for ways to move forward.
That's the only logical next step to make it even bigger.
Yeah.
But people don't realize that CrossFit evolved women's sports, but they also gave so many people an opportunity to have their own business.
Right. Okay. Let's talk about that
Because
But there was a problem with that. Is one of the reason I'm leaving is because the expectations in a way that that CrossFit created are completely wrong. It's a bit like the OnlyFans.
It's the girl who fucks the NBA player and then thinks that's her base level.
Exactly that. So
Exactly.
girl has sex one time with an NBA player and now thinks that's the only type of people she's gonna have sex with is NBA players and eventually marry one. Like you actually hear girl having that, like it's a strategy for them. Like so now I'm gonna start just being around NBA players and I'm gonna fuck all of them and one of them will marry me. And you go like, business plan, sounds great, go ahead. What CrossFit did is you showed up and you did your L1. It was $1,000, let's say 1,500, right? Then you pay another 1,500 for affiliate fee, 300,000 first year, and out of that you build a gym. You get 100 members at $200. Yeah, so 20K a month for 3,000. So 250K a year for 3,000 put forward. And most people were like, yeah. And honestly, that's what happened at first. I know because I was there.
It's a great deal.
I was there. I didn't have a CrossFit gym. I had a CrossFit affiliate for a while. But I had friends of mine opening gym exactly like that. And what did you think was going to happen from there? Is that everybody jumped on that bandwagon because they're like, oh, all I need is 10K, 20K to open a gym. I create the thing. I get 100 members, 150 members. I make great money. I coach 6 classes a day. That's not too much. And they had all those plans, just like the OnlyFans girl with NBA player, going like, and then I'm gonna be the only one with that. Even though CrossFit keeps pumping 3 L1s per, so 150 L1 with at least 60 people, so 1,000 people with L1s a year.
Yeah, but
what does that tell you?
Yeah, but the problem is that
he gave them the idea that he was he was the NBA. That was the NBA player, and it's true that if you got there early, you had a shot at that. But you know, like most of those gyms are closed now. Most of the gyms did not make it to the 10-year mark. I don't think most of them made it to the 5-year mark. Look at the first top 100 CrossFit gyms in the world. Look how many are still open.
Yeah, but it's like a lot of those. I mean, I don't want to be really rude, but I'm going to be. It's like what CrossFit really promoted is that anybody can make the regionals. Anybody can be a pro level athlete. Everybody can be a business owner. No, you just got really lucky that you were early, and you got really lucky that this opportunity was given to you. And it created some really good athletes. But let's be honest, like not everybody was an Olympian. No, that's not. You are okay. Maybe you are a good athlete, but you just.
Especially then, good athletes in 2 years could make it to the game. That's gone as well, right? So the thing is, you were first. That's all. You were just there early, but as you said, it built up an ego into people going like, oh. And the problem too is because the thing was growing so much, you had a lot of content given for free. That's at the same time that YouTube blew up, and then a lot of people gave you more content for free. So now we are in a society that has trained people to absorb a zillion amount of contact for free every day, pick and choose what they want to do, but none of you need to put real work anymore into that, which is what we're going to see with the training at CrossFit as well. Is everybody has a fancy stuff they need, but no one has to put in real work, just like Disney. Because when you start hiring based on skin color, religion, sexual orientation, gender, or whatever, people don't put in real work. You know what they become? They become activists because it's a lot easier than having to do animation for 10 hours in front of a computer.
That's activism. It's moral superior because honestly, lack of
all
knowledge.
Activists are just morally superior. So the problem is CrossFit promoted an idea that was completely unsustainable. And that's why, by the way, we're in trouble now. They're in trouble now. Is because that model that they had was just unsustainable, but the growth was so fast. And I'm not blaming them because
it was a gift.
Just it was a perfect storm, and if you were there early, then you get set. But make no difference. You were first, right? So 3 rules of business to make money is be first, be smart, or cheat. Right. So you were first, a lot of you. That's it. So, but that proposition was completely unsustainable. The problem is it gave you an expectation, right? That this is going to stay like that, and no, you won't. And so in a way, I did the same with the Strongfit stuff for free and everything, where I was like, look, I've done the work, I'm presenting to you, take it, put it in your gym, work on it. And so what a lot of people did is they took it, put it in their gym.
Yeah.
But then they didn't work on it.
Or,
and so because it takes so much work to go, but again, the expectations were like, look, you just take that, you plug it here, and everything works by itself. And you know what? With CrossFit, for a time, it worked. All you had to do was plug in a little bit of CJ, a little bit of Invictus, a little bit of, what was his name? Who trained Matt Frazier at first? Man, I forget every single name. You know who I'm talking about, East Coast. Anyway, little bit of this, little bit of this guy, little bit of that guy, a bit of Strongman. Ben Bergeron. Like you plug in and everything, and then you get the programming at your gym, and then you do a little bit of social media, and you get 120 members, and then you're not a business owner. What you really is a coach because you don't like the business. I feel you, I don't like it either. But it allows you to keep moving your business, make enough money. That is a lot better. Except 5 years later, you realize you don't make that much money because it's a lot of really hard work. Running a business is completely different from being a coach. And turns out the plug and play, that you don't work for very long. But what CrossFit did at first was build your ego in a completely unsustainable way. And we are reaching a crossroad where CrossFit is about, I think, to go in a direction that will crush a lot of you.
It's just a shame.
I'm going my way. My guess is, I don't know about CJ, but people like him will leave the fitness industry or go do their stuff and everything. The writing is on the wall. I will stay for my 20%. What I will not do is for the 80%, keep pumping the knowledge out for free and everything, because honestly, you have not earned it. You can send me all those emails that I got going, how come you're not doing this all you want? You can get pissed. It doesn't change any of it. I will not enter that fight because the only way you win that fight is by not playing. And honestly, this is not a fight I want to have. I'm just going to move away. Yeah. And so I'm going to do what I'm going to do with autism and anxiety. And I hope a lot of you stay with me and follow me on that journey there. But the whole movement stuff and everything will be behind a paywall on the mentoring program because honestly, I'm tired to give it to people that don't work on it.
The thing is,
and to the people I wanted to steal it, use it, and not even give credit, karma is a bitch.
Yes, and that's a little bit what I wanted to say is that when I entered Strongfit or got to know the system and everything, I was surprised how many people I saw that used it to be moral superior. Like, look at me, I have this hidden knowledge. That's really something that you see.
Narcissism, but yeah.
Exactly, and I don't know,
like. But I'll do a podcast on narcissism one day.
With CrossFit too. It's like, look, we are so much better than global gym. And
like my warm up is your workout. Remember that? That's actually a very Gnostic way of looking at things. And so the problem is they promoted that idea of, look, CrossFit is new and it's better. So it had all the qualities. New, which by the way they're all logical fallacies, but new is necessarily better, right? And they were very in your face. And it was a very Gnostic religion type. That's why it was a cult, CrossFit at first, because it was a Gnostic religion, not agnostic. Gnostic religion, look it up. And in a way, I followed in that path of the Gnostic religion stuff. So Strongfit became like that hidden knowledge type of thing that you could use to at least justify certain things. I had so many people using of the 20% at store that took it to explain to people why they're anxious, why their shoulder hurts, and keep referring to things but never offer a solution. That's where it gets complicated, is when you actually have to fix stuff. But the number of those people that use my stuff to explain why it was happening, do you notice the conversation about pain is changing a lot? When did I do that? At least 5 years ago. Yeah. Look at lactate. And by the way, I'm not saying they're doing it because of me. I'm saying I offered all that stuff to you for free back then before anything else. One day you will realize that a lot of the stuff that I gave for free is really good and should not be put in the price that some people have put to. Because one of the email was they were trying to explain to me how much the stuff was worth or what I should charge. And I'm like, how dare you? But anyway, I don't care. Again, I do the work for the 20%. What I wanted to do this podcast is to explain why I'm going to move into a certain direction, because like this is where all those things are going.
Yeah.
This is that 60% to me is control COVID, control the corporate America that is moving forward and everything. Like you can blame corporate America for what's going to happen to CrossFit all you want. At the end, it's a 60%. It's that the tyranny of that majority is the not caring about anything brings those things forward. I did a podcast on the Lab League way back in the day. I got shadow banned as for that. Right? Guess what?
Told you so.
Guess what, right?
Told you so.
It was obvious, and at the time got blasted for it. I remember the comments, right, on all that stuff. There was a number of things. I was against the lockdown, and then and people were like, hashtag stay the fuck home. Except now, the people that didn't care are not going to care about the consequences of that either. But to this, I have one thing. One day they'll come for you. Just know that. It's like the Me Too people. One day they'll come for you. You'll see. Like he always turns into something else. Whatever was necessary is not that anymore. And he'll turn toward you. Look at what's happening in the world right now. Like this is the problem when you don't care. When you stay silent is eventually they come for you. And so I'm at a stage where I'm just going to remove myself from that space because it's not interesting to me. So I've given a lot, I think, right? A lot of knowledge out there. I did it for years. Now I'm only interested in doing it for specific people, for my 20%. And so it's going to be behind a paywall mentoring program with Mike and everything. And then I'll explain that in the next few weeks. So yeah, the podcast is going to stay there. But understand that's the only thing that's going to be out there. The podcast, it'll be obviously for free on Apple and everything. It'll be on YouTube. Every other video will be behind a paywall on the mentoring program. Yeah. That's it. So I hope you have enjoyed all the video movements, all the stuff, all the not always free because I also did the modules. I did the templates and everything, and all that is gone. So I hope you got. I'm sure you saved it on the computer and everything, so you still have some. But this is me saying I'm out, right? To my people, I will stay in touch, and then I will see you one. And in the next few podcasts, I'll explain, like, if you want to go on a mentoring program, how to get there. But just for everybody else, it was a cool chunk of my life. I'm happy with all the stuff I figured out, and I hope you got a lot out of it.
And help some people, which was always the goal.
But those are my 20%.
Yes.
For the rest.
And they did. For those 20% that really made a change in life.
I bid you a very good life, and I hope karma treats you kindly. Bye, guys.